The neon glow of Times Square has long been a symbol of New York City's restless heartbeat. Tourists from around the globe gather under its towering screens, taxis rush past in streaks of yellow, and street performers compete for attention in a never-ending chorus of noise, light, and life. It is a place where, no matter the hour, the city feels alive. But in the early hours of the 9th of August, 2025, that heartbeat was abruptly interrupted by the sharp, unmistakable sound of gunfire. What should have been another ordinary summer night at the crossroads of the world turned into a scene of chaos and fear, as 3 people were struck by bullets in the heart of one of the busiest intersections in the United States. It happened just after 1:20 a.m. near the corner of West 44th Street and 7th Avenue. Crowds were still gathered despite the late hour, some lingering after Broadway shows, others enjoying the warm weather, and many simply passing through on their way to hotels or night spots. According to investigators, a verbal argument between a 17-year-old boy and a 19-year-old man suddenly escalated. Words became shouts, shouts became threats, and in a matter of seconds, a gun was drawn. The shooter aimed at his intended target, the 19-year-old, but his bullets tore through the crowd, striking 2 bystanders who had nothing to do with the dispute. The gunfire set off a wave of panic. People screamed and scrambled for cover, some ducking behind trash bins or vendor carts, others sprinting down side streets. In the confusion, many thought the sound was fireworks until they saw the reactions of those around them, bodies hitting the ground, blood on the pavement, and the flashing lights of store signs reflecting off the glint of a handgun. Video captured by passers-by shows the moments after the shots were fired. A young woman clutching her neck, a man lying in the street clutching his leg, and uniformed officers rushing into the frame as sirens wailed from all directions.
A scary situation for sure, Janae. A summer night turning into chaos after police say gunfire erupted following a fight between 2 teenagers, but certainly playing out in the middle of tourist crowds. We've got some new video coming in this morning where you can see all of this chaos playing out, people running for cover again in one of the busiest intersections in America. By the way, drawing hundreds of thousands on any given day. It happened around 1:30 this morning. Police say a 17-year-old got into an argument with a 19-year-old and then pulled the trigger. That 19-year-old was hit in the foot, a 65-year-old man in the leg, an 18-year-old woman grazed in the neck, all in stable condition this morning and at the hospital. This video we're getting in shows medics helping one of the wounded. Police on the scene for hours overnight. They say a firearm was also recovered. We know that charges are pending against the 17-year-old, and officials are warning that even a personal dispute that plays out in public can put countless others in danger.
Sure can. Morgan Norwood with those breaking details. Thank you.
The victims were later identified as the 19-year-old intended target, who was shot in the foot, an 18-year-old woman visiting the city who suffered a graze wound to her neck, and a 65-year-old man struck in the leg. None of them were critically injured, but all were transported to Bellevue Hospital for treatment. For the 2 bystanders, the night had turned into a nightmare through no fault of their own. Random names added to the list of those touched by senseless gun violence. Police quickly sealed off the surrounding blocks, pushing back tourists and onlookers as they began their investigation. Times Square's towering LED billboards continued to blaze advertisements into the night, creating an eerie contrast. The relentless, almost artificial joy of the lights set against the grim reality of police tape fluttering in the breeze. Within minutes, officers located the suspect not far from the scene. The 17-year-old was taken into custody without further incident, and a firearm believed to have been used in the shooting was recovered. In the hours that followed, the NYPD announced that the teenager would face a litany of charges: attempted murder, assault, criminal possession of a weapon, reckless endangerment, and even a murder charge related to the act of firing with lethal intent. Witnesses described the atmosphere in raw, emotional terms. One man, still visibly shaken, said, "I thought it was firecrackers at first, and then I saw people running and the police yelling for everyone to get down."
I think so, boom, boom. you feeling? This is right in front of where you were.
I close the door, I close all things, I scared.
And I was walking this way, and then I saw all the cops, everybody running around, and then I'm like just trying to take a peek, and then I heard the gunshots, and then I was worried more about, like I said, the kids.
We saw all the crowds of people just running, and then we heard, there's a fight, and we saw cops running.
Lots of tourists here at this time.
Shooting happened?
Yes.
What happened?
So we were inside of Canes, and we
Can you look at the camera?
Oh yeah. No, we were online, and we were in Canes, and about 5 boys came in, like all teenage age.
And they actually asked her for money, and she was like, oh no, like we don't have the money. They asked her for $2.
And then as we were waiting to get our food, they all run out and stuff, and they're just like fighting and bickering like on.
And then people heard.
You said it was a group.
These accounts, combined with the security camera footage from surrounding businesses, began to form the backbone of the case prosecutors would present in court. The suspect's age became another point of discussion. At just 17 years old, he was barely more than a child himself, yet was now facing charges that could see him spend decades behind bars. The incident reignited debate in the city about youth involvement in violent crime, the accessibility of firearms, and the tension between declining overall crime statistics and the high-profile incidents that continue to rattle the public's sense of safety.
We heard it, and we immediately walked away.
And what's your reaction to all of this? How do you feel about this? That just happened.
I'm just surprised it happened in New York. I know I hear about the frisk rule that you guys have out here and how like crime rates, it's more about theft with no armed weapon. So I was kind of surprised that happened in Times Square.
And lastly, how do you feel about the no gun signs that are posted in Times Square?
No gun signs?
Yeah, it says no guns allowed in Times Square.
Official data from earlier in the year showed that shootings in New York City had dropped by nearly 23% compared to the same period the year before, a sign of progress, many said. But progress is cold comfort when a single night's violence makes headlines around the world. For local businesses and street vendors, the shooting was more than just a statistic. It was a disruption to their way of life. Times Square is a place that thrives on constant foot traffic, and in the hours after the incident, the crowds thinned as police cordoned off the area. The next day, city officials held a press conference to reassure both residents and visitors. The mayor condemned the violence, vowing that Times Square would remain one of the safest tourist destinations in the world. NYPD representatives emphasized that the shooting was an isolated incident, not an act of terrorism, and that there was no ongoing threat to the public. Still, the event left its mark. Visitors walked a little faster, scanning their surroundings more carefully, and shop owners exchanged quiet stories about what they'd seen and heard. In many ways, the Times Square shooting was both extraordinary and tragically ordinary. Extraordinary because it happened in such an iconic location, under the gaze of the world's media, and in a place where people go to feel the pulse of New York. Ordinary because it followed the same script as so many acts of violence before it. An argument, a weapon, a moment of rage, and lives change forever. While crime analysts can debate trends and politicians can propose solutions, the lived reality is that safety in a city as large as New York is always fragile. One moment you're buying a pretzel under the bright lights. The next, you're on the ground, praying the noise you just heard wasn't what you think it was. As the case works its way through the courts, Times Square will return to its usual rhythm. Tourists will once again crowd the red steps, snapping photos of the skyline. Street performers will draw laughter from passers-by. Taxis will honk impatiently at jaywalking pedestrians. But for those who were there on the 9th of August, 2025, the memory of that night will linger, a reminder that even in the city that never sleeps, the line between spectacle and tragedy can be crossed in the blink of an eye. The lights will shine on, but for some, they will never feel quite the same.